questions? None?
What?
I guess
Do-
I wish we should ask you about the game. But they come out with the three-pointers. You guys have to counter that. Talk about how you reacted to that.
Well, I mean, going into the game, you probably couldn't tell from our performance. You know, one of the key things we wanted to do was to limit their threes, limit their attempts. And I think their first 4 or 5 baskets were three-pointers, and one was a 4-pointer. Thank you. And so, you know, I think we just had to, particularly with number 0, we told him going into the game, he's probably the best shooter we've faced all year. And I think these guys sometimes think we're just joking around. After he banged 4 or 5 of them, we were a lot more attentive to him.
Coach, talk about Jabril's driving, I guess, right around after the first TV timeout, first half. He started getting the ball into the lane, trying to score. Did you tell your guys to stop shooting jumpers and get the ball to the rim?
No, I did not do that this time, but he, as he always is, was very aggressive at both ends of the court. I mean, I think his intensity on the defensive end led to some buckets on the offensive end, and led to a rejuvenated energy that he always brings when he gets in the game.
Coach, what did you think of Greg's performance today? Career high 25 points, another double-double.
Not good enough. Greg was fine. Greg was fine. I've said this before. You know, you don't. I don't judge how he does just by looking at the stat sheet, because he can do so many different things that don't show up on the stat sheet. You know, between these two, for parts of the latter part of the first half and then most of the second half, you know, these two who guarded 0, not at the beginning of the game, but and I thought he was very good with a few mix-ups, for the most part, making sure that the kid didn't get any open, easy looks that he was getting earlier on in the game. And so, you know, you can look at it and say, yippee, 25 and 11, but that's what he can do, that's what he should do, that's what we expect him to do. And when he doesn't do those things, I expect him to do a lot of different things to help impact us winning and us winning.
Now for the big news. What about what you think of the statement of the...
Let's get questions
players first.
I'm not going to handle that. Can we get players first? and the players will leave, and we can talk about everything else.
Okay, that's fine.
I'm sorry, this one for Greg. Greg, did Coach talk to you about making a more concerted effort to not only post up the dribble drive as opposed to shooting jumpers, although you had some and made some today? Was that something that he's talked about all season, or was this one in particular based on just the matchups that you had?
Well, he tells me to play inside out every game, no matter who we're playing.
Jabril, talk about your ability to get that ball to the rim in the first half.
Well, earlier I was able to hit some open shots. I mean, I think if I get my shot going for me, that'll open up a lot. Me going to the rim, so I hit 2 threes, and then they were coming out, so I was able to drive, be aggressive, use my ability to attack the rim and get fouled.
Greg, your team's effort beginning in the second half. I mean, it was a 12-point game at halftime, and they were ahead, obviously, early in the game, but then you guys figured that out. But just talk about the team's performance early in the second half.
Well, we just stepped up on the defensive end and forced them to tough shots, got rebounds, limited them to 1 chance, and we just played hard.
Greg, obviously you are a confident scorer, but the last few games you struggled to put the ball in the basket. Was it nice to have a game to where things got going for you?
Well, yes, it was nice to have a good game today, but every day I still got to work hard.
Greg, did their full court pressure throw y'all off a little bit? They were able to make a mini run in the second half. Did that put you on your heels somewhat, or?
No comment.
Coach, back-to-back games now where Mikhail has had a minimal impact on the game. Does that concern you with conference play right around the corner?
No, and I don't know whether I'd say he had a minimal impact, and I guess you're looking at the numbers here, which was to say that. So I'm not concerned about Mikhail's play, and he's been doing fine, and we have other guys that can step up and fill in.
Any other questions regarding the game?
Coach, Moses in limited minutes had a pretty decent impact, kind of showed his physicality out there. How would you assess his performance?
Ask that question again.
How did you assess Moses' performance today?
I was going to repeat back to you what you said. In limited minutes, I thought Moses was pretty good today.
Anything else?
Lee, would you come up? All right, Georgetown Athletic Director, Lee Reed. Ready to touchdown?
Mr. Reed, could you just speak to why you feel this move is in Georgetown's interest going forward?
I think after a lot of consideration, keeping a careful eye on the national landscape as it relates to conference realignment, what our history has been, I think we were wanting to get to a place where there was a focus on where we are and what we are philosophically in terms of our model of intercollegiate athletics.
Obviously, Georgetown's been associated with this.
Can you speak up so we can hear the question back here?
I'm sorry. Obviously, Georgetown's been associated with Big East for so long. How difficult of a decision was this for these 7 schools? Obviously, it's nothing you do lightly.
Well, you know, the Big East Conference has been associated with it since its beginning in 1979, and all of the decisions that we make are never taken lightly. And so there's been thoughtful consideration to our membership in the Big East Conference, what that's meant to us, Georgetown University, and they're never easy decisions, but we thought it was the right time to make this decision to move forward with the other 6 members of the conference, the non-football playing members of the conference.
Do you know if the non-revenue sports will also join in this new structure, or is it just strictly basketball?
No, it's complete department.
The statement seems to imply that you're leaving the Big East or Big East name behind. Are we interpreting that correctly?
No, I don't think you are. I think what the statement basically says is that within the structure of the Big East Conference, we have the opportunity as a group to exercise a right to, in an orderly fashion, separate from the conference. The details of all of the questions that you're thinking about, those things have been considered, but now is certainly not the time to discuss those in a public setting.
Is this more of a philosophical decision or financial decision or a combination of both?
I think a combination of both. I think you always consider, for us, putting our student athletes, and we focus on putting our student athletes at the highest level competitively. Exposure's been important to us, but stability in terms of our model of intercollegiate athletics, our broad-based model that's basketball-centric, that's something that's important to us. That has defined us for well over a generation. So we're committed to doing that, we're committed to pursuing that, and we think this new structure provides us the best opportunity right now moving forward to do that.
When putting together a new league, how much do travel concerns play a part?
Like I said, I think those things have been considered, will continue to be considered, but it's probably too early to comment. But we have thought about, we will continue to think about the impact that it has on all of our student athletes, all of our coaches, and our institution in terms of our current students, our alumni, the entire thing. So everything's been considered.
When it comes to being a complete department, does that include the football team moving from the Patriot League into a new structure?
No, the football team's in the Patriot League.
Given the way the membership of the Big East has changed in the last 15 months, was there anything Mr. Oresco could have done, in the last week, I guess, that would have dissuaded this move, or were you guys pretty resolute for some time?
You know, I think we've been focused on what we've tried to accomplish in this. Hard to tell in terms of what he might have been able to do. I think for us, again, after multiple conversations and a lot of thought to this, we think it's the right time for us to do what we're doing, both as Georgetown University and with the other 6 institutions in the Big East.
How long has this been in the works? When did you first start talking as a group about this?
I don't want to talk much about the process at this time. I don't think that's really important. I think what's important is that we're here today. We're excited about where we're headed. We're excited that we will continue to be able to have our student athletes perform at the very highest level. We're committed to excellence academically. We're committed to excellence in terms of competing nationally with our sports. And certainly the development of our student athletes, the individual development of our student athletes has been something that's been the core of Georgetown University, and it will continue to be so. And so who we are, and what we are about really hasn't changed.
Gentleman on the left.
Thank you. You mentioned timing being appropriate a couple of times. Was there something specific about this time, mid-December, or having anything to do with perhaps the other schools?
You know, there's really no best time, no perfect time for these types of decisions, but we felt, again, that this was the right time for us to do this.
Did it have to do with the idea that there was 7 basketball schools with full votes instead of the 10? Did that timing matter?
No.
Given the overall instability, how important was it for you to align yourself with schools that were philosophically similar, essentially?
You know, I would say that you know, that's something we thought about. Again, our priorities are making sure our student athletes are able to compete at the highest levels, providing them with the exposure and the platform that they need to do that, and stability defined as Georgetown University having a basketball-centric, 29-sport, broad-based athletic program. So that's where we start and finish all of our conversation.
There were some media reports, among many media reports the last several days, that characterized Georgetown as being among the more reluctant to make this move as a charter member. Was there any truth to that, or could you speak to what I imagine are some degree of mixed feelings about leaving something you helped found?
No, I don't think that's the case. I think we will always be very thoughtful, deliberate in any decision that we make that has an impact on Georgetown University. And so we've done that, but I wouldn't characterize it as we've been slow to the table, so to speak.
Obviously,
in fact, I would go a step further and say, I am fortunate, we are fortunate, this institution and community has been fortunate to have the leadership that we have in President DeGioia, and having somebody who has been at the institution since the mid-'70s, who has been directly involved in intercollegiate athletics since the mid-'80s, who serves on the Knight Commission, who has put us in a position to, again, be the Georgetown that we are today. I think that is a benefit, and so we feel, again, really good with where we are, the process that we took to get to this point, and a lot of work is left to be done. We've talked about it, and it's probably the 3rd inning of a 9-inning game, so there is a lot of work left to be done.
Obviously, 7 schools.
Go ahead.
Obviously, 7 schools are not the typical size of a conference these days. It's safe to assume you'll be looking to grow the membership. And do you have a target number that you'd like to see?
No, there's no target number. I think it would be safe to say that at the right time, at the proper time, that those things will be discussed and dealt with.
John, we asked you obviously the other day about your feelings on the matter.
I like to sit there. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Obviously, we asked you your feelings the other day when it was still to be decided. Could you just now share your thoughts on the decision?
Well, I think just to, I don't want to say piggyback, but I mean, as it goes towards Liz's last question, as I said the other day, this is a decision that's not an emotional decision. And so getting to this point had nothing to do with Georgetown. Georgetown's position as a charter member and not wanting to pull apart because of those ties and that allegiance. I think at this point, based on the collegiate landscape, our leadership believes this is the right thing to do. We believe this is the right thing to do, and so I'm excited about where we're going to go. Now, there are a lot of questions that still need to be answered, a lot of questions that we probably know the answers to. It's not time to share publicly. And so this is a new phase that we're excited to be a part of.
Seeing as how the conference is hearing it's going to be basketball-centric, with basketball being the main sport and you being the basketball coach, do you kind of like that future where basketball is the main?
Well, I think that goes to, and I'm glad to hear some of you guys using just baskets. Goes to your the common philosophical link is not religion; it's the basketball. And so we talk about a basketball-centric conference. But I felt comfortable with that. Georgetown has been that, has never changed in that regard, regardless of who we're in a conference, who have been in a conference with, or who we will be in a conference with. And I think that that's something that's important. And as much as these 7 schools are starting this process or stepping out, I said this the other day, you heard me say, like, we're Georgetown. And I think it's part of what you guys, I'll stop you short of saying job, to do is to clump us all together. And as much as we're stepping out here together, we're much different and very unique than the other 6 schools. And so we're Georgetown.
At some level, is it sad to you, considering you basically grew up in this conference and around this conference?
Sad?
Yeah, personally.
Director Reed, was there a specific tipping point in the realignment process that made these 7 schools seek out new opportunities?
No, I just think it's been watching the whole thing unfold, and you know, what we've tried to do is assess every move as it related to the Big East Conference, but specifically as it related to Georgetown University. So not one thing made us make this decision.
Were considerations given for, was it just stay in the Big East or leave with these 7 schools? Were there other options available to Georgetown?
I will tell you that it is our responsibility to do our due diligence and put the university, put our athletics program, put our student athletes and coaches in the best position possible. And right now, we feel this is the best position possible. We feel this is our best opportunity to continue to excel in our broad-based basketball-centric model. That's been who we are. It's given us a lot of success, and we're proud of it, and we're excited about the future.
Coach, you had said the other day that a lot of research was underway and a lot more needed to be done, you know, before it was clear what served Georgetown's interest best, that you weren't sure whether this was the way to go. Is there anything that has given you peace of mind or made you feel, given you the clarity?
I was not clear then.
You
I
were.
think that Mr. Reed just said we're in the 3rd inning of a 9-inning game.
Yeah.
And I think that's a good way to look at it. And that, as I said then, you know, we're not just going to jump out here. Where's Craig?
He didn't make it
today. You know, we're not just going to jump out here without our president, our director of athletics, our community's not just going to jump out here without careful analyzation. And so we're still going through some of that. Some of that has already come to a conclusion. But there's obviously a lot of questions that still need to be answered and sorted through. And as I said, some have been, some will be made public, so we're still working on it.
How much is the speed of this process, not just for Georgetown and the 6 other schools, but across the NCAA landscape? How unsettling is that, or how difficult is that administratively to try to react to these things that seem to happen kind of at breakneck speed and force people into decisions that, you know, you're not necessarily, I know you've said you're prepared for it, but it's difficult to be prepared for everything that's going on throughout the landscape.
Well, that's what we get paid to do. I don't think we've been forced anywhere. I think we've reassessed where we want to be. We've been consistent in who we are and where we want to go. So I really don't feel like we've been forced to do anything. In fact, I'm very excited about the opportunities before us, again, to continue to grow our model, something that we believe in, something that's based in high academic achievement, excelling, trying to win national championships in sports, and developing our student athletes as we do. That really hasn't changed.
Mr. Reed, can you put any meat on the bones of orderly fashion? You know, when the statement, and I believe you earlier said, as a group, you'll move toward a new structure in an orderly fashion. Could that be as early as next fall, 2013?
Hard to speculate on timing. What I meant by orderly is we have operated in a very transparent way as it relates to Mike Oresco and the conference and other members. And so I think for us it's best to operate and proceed that way. And so we'll continue to do that. We'll continue to work with our partners at the Big East Conference, the other member institutions, to move forward in a very orderly fashion, to move forward in a transparent fashion, to move forward in a fashion that doesn't do necessarily harm to others, but it puts us in the best position we need to be in.
Thank you. What is your best sense of when the new conference will take on its identity and start its new schedule?
I don't have a best sense that I'm willing to share now.
Okay.
One more question?
Coach, even if it is in the third inning of a 9-inning game at this point, do you sense already more stability for your program and for your school, or is this still kind of feel in flux, or did you feel stable regardless anyway?
I felt stable with Georgetown, you know, and so I'm gonna say something that most of you in this room have heard me say many times, and probably gonna hear me say it a lot in this near future here. Georgetown was an outstanding program before the Big East. We've been an outstanding program during our time in the Big East, and we're gonna be an outstanding program with whatever tomorrow holds. And so the stability is up on the hilltop. The stability is within our institution. And whoever wants to be with us can be with us.
Thank you, everyone.